सरस्वतीव्यासं ततो जयमुदीरय नष्टप्रायेषु अभ्युत्तरेषु नित्यं भागवतस्य सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवस्य श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगरविलोकं विकलितं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरे पाञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण प्रभुपाद के प्रिय श्री गिरिराज सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी मुखम करोति वाचालं श्री गुरु हरे कृष्ण। Come back to our exciting discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are Canto 1, chapter 4, and text 5. So we read earlier. Okay, so some questions were being asked by Shunaka Rishi to Sutta Goswami. So the question was, in what period and at what place were this first begun, and why were this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? His Vyasadev's son was a great devotee and equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. So we had a very nice discussion last week on this topic. So now text 5. Rishvanuyantam Rishimatmajam Apyanaghnam Aparidadhurana Sukasya Chittam Tattiksha Krichati Jagadishtavasti Stripum Vidana Sutasya Vivikta Drishtihi. Srila Vyasadeva was following his son. Beautiful. What's that? Srila Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked, covered their bodies with cloth. Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them made no distinction between male and female, but the sage made such distinctions. So what was happening is that Shukdev Goswami, as soon as he was born, that story will come somewhere later in the Bhagavatam. So when he was born, as soon as he was born, what did he do? He just left home. He ran away from home. And Srila Vyasadeva was chasing after him. And when he was going by a lake, so there were some girls who were bathing. So these girls, when they saw Srila Vyasadeva, who's an elderly person, they covered their bodies with cloth. But when the son, Shukadeva Goswami, passed by, they didn't worry about it. So Vyasadeva was confused. He says, why did you do this? So purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahmana, Chandal, dog eater, a dog or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Shukadeva Goswami attained that stage, which is called Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. He was indifferent to the material creation. He was absorbed in only the spiritual conception. So Shukadeva Goswami attained that stage when he seen everybody equally. Thus, he didn't see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor, just as by looking at a child, one can understand how innocent he is. Shukadeva Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Shukadeva Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualifications, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom, because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder had to distinguish between a male and female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Shukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made by matter, by material nature to attract the opposite sex, and thus keep one entangled in material existence. If I disturb you, Okay, so a liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of the spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Shukadev Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage. That because he was in the householder's life, he didn't pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Okay. So who will tell me what we understood here? Who will tell me what we have understood from this passage?
Mataji, should I?
Right?
Mataji, it is said that when can a person not become a sannyasi? Like in Sukhdev Goswami's case, because he was liberated, he did not distinguish between the male body and the female body. But although even Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was a householder, so that's why the ladies also covered themselves and he also had to distinguish.
So is it that all sannyasis don't distinguish between male and female body, according to you?
No, the sannyasi who's at the liberated platform, Mataji, they do.
Yes. All right. So that's why there's a restriction, right, for a regular sannyasi, right? So Prabhupada is saying that as long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Shukadev Goswami, right? Meaning that sannyasis, they are making the distinction between male and female. So therefore there are restrictions, very heavy restrictions. But when they are liberated, like Shukadev Goswami, then they don't make the distinction. So that's the point here. And Srila Vyasadeva, he is, as you said, transcendental. But as a matter of custom, he didn't pretend to be liberated because he's a householder, right? And why is this male and female body? It's male and female
For
body.
material creation.
Who is speaking?
Oh,
I can't hear you.
yeah.
Yes. So why this male and female bodies? Prabhupada said, no?
The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence.
Okay. It's an automatic machine, right? Reproduction machine, automatic. So original was, it was, form, and then it became automatic multiplication, automatic multiplication. I heard that so few people now want to have children in South India somewhere. So the government want to give money, to support your child. And still, they don't want to have children. So meaning Krishna's program to create men and women is for creation of children. But now they don't want children. So even the government wants people to have children, because in 20 years, India is going to become an old country, right? With less youngsters, need no replacement, right? Then there is no replacement because less fertility growth, they call it. So the government is concerned about it, right? So, like the outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep on entangled in material existence. Is that a good plan? Is it a good plan? Right? Not a good plan at all, right? So here Prabhupada is writing that the ladies, they could sense. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor. Just as by looking at a child, one can understand how innocent he is. This is very carefully given. So that's why again separation of men and women. Right? So that was see, everything went upside down. So the men and women, right, they were kept completely separate. Right? After the age, I think by 10 years, when a boy would be 10 years, then he will be kept separate from the women. In the beginning, that she will always be with the mother, but when she comes to 10 years, definitely by 12 years, then the boy will no longer stay with the mother. And she will stay with the father, with the men, the household. The household was divided like this, women's quarters and men's quarters, right? So he was not allowed to stay with the women. Okay, text 6. Katham alakshitah pore sampraptah kuru jangalahan unnata mukha jaravat gaja sahavaye. How was he, Srila Shukadev, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? So this is how Shukadev Goswami died. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Now we're getting a little bit of history now. Why Hastinapur? No? So there was a king called Hasti. Goswami Shukadev, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. All right? You know, everybody looks same, right? Just like this morning, I don't know who gave the class, but it was so rasa. I don't know the name of the devotee. In the beginning, you know, I was only hearing, I wasn't seeing. Then I was like, oh my God, who's giving class? Who's giving? And then you know, so because I was doing my D3 worship, so I just had, it was in Hindi, so Hindi is difficult for me. When I go down to the temple room, I don't understand anything. But if I listen on, you know, this radio, then I can make out, you know, is that accent and the, you know, this acoustic system is not very proper. So then I look and say, oh, I don't know who this person is. My God, as he started speaking, I don't know if anybody here heard this lecture. It was fabulous. Then at the end I was saying, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Right? So when I looked at him, I said, who is this? And I heard him, then I said, oh my God, I wish he will give more classes. Right? So,
Mataji, the video you had sent, that lecture,
which video?
you shared in the group, that one.
I don't know which one I'll share. Oh, no, not that
Okay.
one.
Okay.
No. No, this morning Bhagavatam class.
All right. All right.
Obviously, he was like a scholar in a very pleasant way, not in highly intellectual that I can't understand anything. But obviously, he's somebody who is very well read. When people get too much scholarly, my intelligence, my mind switches off. Because I don't understand what they are saying, right? I just heard one podcast. Goranga Prabhu was being interviewed, and it was on a podcast with some devotees, couple of devotees. So he was saying that all the other sampradaya, this sampradaya, that sampradaya, everybody, they were highly scholarly, but ISKCON doesn't have like a class of devotees who are very scholarly. And I say, thank God there is no high scholar in ISKCON, otherwise, I'll run away, right? Because I don't understand anything, right? As soon as they go too scholarly, I switch off. For me, Prabhupada's writing is very simple. I read the purport, I read and I can tell you, right, what I'm reading. So, so that's how this devotee spoke. I could see that he's somebody who's very well read, but he was so simple in his presentation. So one should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see, but to hear him. All right. No socializing with a sadhu. Right? Oh, I just came to see you. I'm just dropping in. No. If you're coming, it means that you have some serious business. You want to hear from him or you want to ask for seva. All right. Of course, other things like taking care of them, and they take care of you, you take care of them in different ways. That's there. This is also important. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. But believe me, there is no, the sadhu is quite unhappy if devotees only drop in to say hello and goodbye. I remember Jayapataka Maharaj. You know how when he comes, so many devotees are running behind him. So then he just was sitting in his room, and all his devotees just came and all sitting around him and said, what's the question? He asked. What's the question? And everybody's looking at each other. Maharaj said, no question, then why have you come? Any guess what they will say? Any guess?
To take your blessings, darshan.
Yeah, we've come to take your blessing, right? So here Prabhupada is saying, one should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see but to hear him. Oh, now I remember what video I had sent. Is it on your group? I think it's from Jayapataka Maharaj about karma. Was that no, it's not that one. Oh, okay, I don't know which one. I keep on sending videos here.
Amarendra Prabhu, I think.
Huh?
Amarendra Prabhu's video you had sent on Purushottam.
Oh, Amarendra
Saurashtra.
Saurashtra. Oh, okay, that was just rasa. Just rasa. And also, it has some connection with what we read last week. Anyway, when I feel some inspiration, then there was some connection with what we were discussing. That's why I sent that to Saurashtra. So Shukadev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. All right. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb, mad man. But in fact, he was the most exalted, transcendental personality. Yeah, Bhakti Swami also, when he would come, so there were always devotees who would come to meet him. And by good luck, people who come to see him would always ask some good questions. So Prabhupada is saying, a sadhu, he doesn't satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. So this is a very serious business. Text 7. Kathamba pandave yasya ajarishi munina saha samvada samabhuttata yatresha sadhvati shruti. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him? Srimad Bhagavatam is stated here as the essence of the Vedas. It is not an imaginary story, as it is sometimes considered by unauthorized men. It is also called Shuka Samhita, or the Vedic hymn spoken by Sri Shukadev Goswami, the great liberated sage. I saw one documentary yesterday, So it was about Mahabharata, and I was, it gets very fascinating. So many people are studying, this Mahabharata. What is Mahabharata? They're trying to figure what it is. So they made some statistics. So how many people in India believe that Mahabharata is real? It's not imagination. Here Prabhupada is saying, they think that Srimad Bhagavatam is an imaginary story. Unauthorized men, they think that Srimad Bhagavatam is an imaginary story. So that statistic was given. So according to you, what percentage of people think that Mahabharata is imaginary, and what percentage think that Mahabharata is real history? Any guess? Yes.
I feel 90% must be thinking it's imaginary. And then this.
75%. All right. Lucky not 90%. Okay. So that's quite that was quite a relief actually. Right? So good 25, meaning they're still devotees, right? And ISKCON is preaching. Before I thought it was imaginary. Now Prabhupada said it's not imaginary. Now I know it is not imaginary. So ISKCON is preaching, so people are now. And so 25%, let's say, understand that Mahabharata is not imaginary. But from north to south, from east to west, and outside the Indian peninsula, guess what? Guess what? Everybody put a plays on Mahabharata. Everybody put on drama, dance, this one. Everybody, whether you believe it is imaginary or you accept it as a fact, nobody can escape. All right? Understand? This is the effect, meaning that when something was, that's what we call Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma meaning that which doesn't die. So even though we put on, you know, like a tag on it, and we put a tag on it that is imaginary, but everybody still is, you know, watching the movies, enacting it, etc., etc. Just saw something about, I don't know where I posted that one. So they're speaking about the, you know, the sari, you know, how, because, I mean, it's just so hot now. It's just so hot. And I think, oh my God, you know, how many pieces of cloth I've got on me, you know? And like a sari is just such a thin, you know, and still I'm like piping hot. And I said, why this, you know, this cloth like this? There is extra pieces on me, you know? Then yesterday, and then I started thinking, I said, somebody has wrapped over us, you know? I mean, that's what came to my mind, that somebody has wrapped over us, meaning there's all those undergarment that we are wearing, you know? This blouse, double layer, and this down piece, you know? Then, oh my God, so this one person just pop up, you know, as usual, when you're thinking of something, then YouTube just pop it up. I guess they read your mind, right? So this man, he is telling everything, all the stuff about what was imported, etc., on India. And he just, in one line, he just said that, you know, the way we are wearing the sari is not that way. It was British who brought it. Immediately I Google, let me go and find out pre-British how the sari was born. And lo and behold, this is exactly what I'm saying. What is it? So the women didn't wear, you know, all this stuff down and down, up and down, right? They had another way of tying the sari. So what happened was that the British, they wanted the women to wear their Victorian clothes. So when in their parliament, they had some very prominent wife of one gentleman in their midst. So they refused to allow her entry in their midst. So what that lady did is exactly what I told you. What she did, she stitched a blouse, Victorian blouse, okay? She stitched it. And then she, you know, that petticoat, right? This is the Victorian skirt. And on top of it, she put her sari. And this is what you have today. And that's why I'm suffocating in this heat. Because I'm thinking I'm wearing double clothes. Right? Is what was coming to my mind. I'm wearing double clothes. And I said, oh my God, that's exactly true. I mean, just imagine the extent to which the women of India fought to keep the sari. Right? How they suffered wearing those thick, right? These thick blouses. So then they were explaining, they say, you know, because India, a tropical country, right, you need light wears. And Victorian, which is all of you for UK, right, so many of you from UK, you need thick, thick cloth. So these poor ladies and poor us, we had to wear double clothes. Hey, I don't know why I spoke about that. I don't know why it came to clothes and I forgot. Anyway, piece of information extra. Oh yeah, imagination. Mahabharata is imagination. Okay, now let's read text 7. No, text 8. Sago dohana matram hi shugrihamedina avikshate mahabhagas tirthi kurvam stadashramam. Shukdev Goswami was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked. And he did this just to sanctify the residence. Purpose. Shukadev Goswami met Emperor Ambarish and explained the text of Shrimad Bhagavatam. He was not accustomed to stay at any householder's residence for more than half an hour at the time of milking the cow, and he would just take alms from the fortunate householder. That was to sanctify the residence by his auspicious presence. So remember, I say, why do people come and run where the sadhu is? Why? Because they think that his presence is auspicious, right? Therefore, Shukadev Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. Therefore, Shukadev Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. From his activities, those who are in the renounced order of life and dedicated to the mission of preaching the message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with householders save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from the householder should be for the purpose of sanctifying his home. One who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions and thus become subservient to worldly men. For one who is in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. Meaning that a sannyasi should never become dependent on a householder. That you accept the charity. You accept the charity, and that also for the benefit of the householder. Right? So Prabhupada is giving heavy warning. So that's how, devotees, brahmacharis, and sannyasi, this is how they fall down. Dependent on one householder. So Prabhupada is saying here, one who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions. Now what happened if you have a maintainer, right? If the sannyasi gets a maintainer, is it a one-way bargain? What Prabhupada is writing there. Is it a one-way bargain? And okay, I have found somebody, who will sponsor, maintain all my requirements. Then is it one way? What is writing there?
He becomes subservient to worldly men.
Oh, they will start to ask. Right? They will start to extract. Like this one lady, she told me. So we have this children's program. So I told her, so she's having it in her house. So in her house, she's a poor person. So house naturally small. So then I said, why don't you do it in some school, some community center, something? Say, yes, Mataji, I can do. But these people, if I go and ask them, then they will expect me to do something for them personally. They don't understand that I'm doing this for Krishna. Right? So it becomes like a bargain. Okay, do you a favor, I'll give you a classroom or whatever. But then, and so that particular manager said, then they would want to utilize that lady for their own work. So this is how people think. So here, so start dictating. So that's why, our sannyasis, they're very, very careful. Very, very careful. They're engaging people in devotional service. And they are not dependent. They're not at all dependent on the householders. But they're engaging the devotees in service. And therefore they're free. So for one who's in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. See, actually, spiritual path is very difficult. Very difficult. So that's why there are so many casualties on the devotional path. There's so many casualties, right? I mean, this is in every line, whether it is in the Vedic line or whether it is, like among the Christians. I don't know how many monks gave up their robe, right? That's what they call it. And they become regular citizens. I don't know how many of them. They become priests or whatever, monks for some time, and then they can't maintain. But they are good quality people. They're very good quality people. They're just not able. Then, they have to be given another chance. And again, they come. Text 9. Abhimanyu sutam sutta rahur bhagavatottamam janma mahascharyam karmani cha grinihinah. Srila Prabhupada has been very, very merciful. And like in some community in India, if a sannyasi, he falls from his sannyas order, Like I had one doctor actually from South India. So he a very intelligent man, very, very intelligent man. So then he told me that he's the son of a community of sannyasis who fell from their order, sannyas order, and became, they entered Grihastha ashram, right? So they were sannyasis, so they became, meaning they have a community, and they were like treated as outcasts in their community, right? And so intelligent because they're Brahmanas, right? They are that group of Brahmanas. So for whatever reason, they couldn't maintain their sannyas, and then they enter Grihastha ashram, and then so they have like a rejected group of Brahmanas, I would say. But Prabhupada didn't do that. Integrated, right? He reintegrated the sannyasis who gave up their sannyas order. And they continued to do so much service for Prabhupada's mission. continued. So meaning that the process of engagement in devotional service will bring them again, if not in this life, next life or the next life, whatever. So again, this is my appreciation of Srila Prabhupada when like this devotee was saying that every sampradaya, they have a very scholarly class. Of course, it is required because then they are able to fight any intrusion in the philosophy of ISKCON. Somebody speaking nonsense and the general devotees don't know and nobody know how to defend, right? So then it says, I say one thing, you say something, then you put something on the internet, that one puts something on the internet, right? This is how we fight in ISKCON, right? And nothing really like highly intellectual. So for me, it was like, thank God we are philosophy, I call it spoken in journalistic style, meaning I can understand this philosophy. Though it is so high, it is not scholastic, it is not like academics, but Prabhupada has spoken the same philosophy in a very simple way. And you can see here, it is just this purport. Remember Srila Prabhupada, he started compiling this Bhagavatam when he took Vanaprastha. He went to Radha Damodar temple. He was sitting there. These are the purports that Srila Prabhupada was writing. He hadn't gone to the West. All right? Just see, Prabhupada is already penning in this one book the entire blueprint for an international movement when Srila Prabhupada doesn't even have a single disciple. Do you appreciate this? Do you appreciate this? This first canto, Srila Prabhupada is sitting as a Vanaprastha in Radha Damodar temple and writing and these purports. Right? It's amazing. What, you want to say something, Anupama?
Mataji, I was wondering that Srila Prabhupada at that time only wrote all these word to word and translation and purport, the breakup of this, then like all the books of Srila Prabhupada in this pattern have this structure.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure whether he had that word-to-word translation, but at least we know that the translation is there, the purport is there. Was translating into English. All right, and Prabhupada wrote this Bhagavatam, this 3 volumes. So we can check in the original how it was. So, but he wrote this purport, or the whole Bhagavatam as his purport. And so he's warning us, meaning these are laws. That's why Prabhupada said his books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. So he's warning sannyasis how to behave. Can we do one more? Next line. Abhimanyu suttam sutta rahur bhagavatottamam tasya janma mahascharyam karmani cha greenuhinah. It is stated Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So now, who's speaking? To who?
Sutta Goswami to Sonak.
गोस्वामी टू सौनक आदि ऋषि 88,000
What?
ऋषि
Shaunak Rishi to Sutta Goswami.
Yeah, who spoke?
सूत गोस्वामी स्पीकिंग टू
So-
सौनक
Is it? So,
No, not to Sutta Goswami.
who's speaking? Okay, tell me who's speaking.
Shaunak Rishi.
Shaunak Rishi. To whom?
Suta Goswami.
To Suta Goswami. He's giving the parichaya, as we say, right? Of Shukadev Goswami and of Parikshit Maharaj. So they're known personalities. So that was the characteristic of Shukadev Goswami. Shaunak Rishi is describing the characteristic of Shukadev Goswami. Now he's speaking the characteristics of Parikshit Maharaj. And how did they meet? For what purpose? Right? It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. The birth of Maharaj Parikshit is wonderful because in the womb of his mother, he was protected by the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. His activities are also wonderful because he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. To kill cows means to end human civilization. So, the majority of human beings are eating meat, right? 50% of Indians also eat meat. I hope they don't eat cow meat. Meat. 50% of Indians are eating meat. To kill cows meant to end human civilization. He wanted to protect the cow from being killed by the great representative of sin. His death is also wonderful because he got previous notice of his death, which is wonderful for any mortal being. And thus he prepared himself for passing away by sitting down on the bank of the Ganges and hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord. During all the days he heard Bhagavatam, he didn't take food or drink, nor did he sleep a moment. So everything about him is wonderful, and his activities are worth hearing attentively. Desire expressed hearing to hear about him in detail. Okay, so Shaunak Rishi is telling Suta Goswami, tell us in detail. Samrat kasya va hetuho pandunam manavardhanaha rayupavishtu gangayam anadritya dhirat striyam. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans, and he didn't have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. Right? Why? Why?
He inherited it.
Yeah. You get an inheritance. He didn't have to go and fight and conquer, right? Everybody say, I'm working hard, to make my wealth. And here he just got an inheritance. He inherited it from his grandfathers, Maharaj Yudhishthir and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of the Ganges fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore all were eager to know the cause. So we can see we can never be happy in this world, right? You have money, wealth, prestige, position. You are running your own business, your own household, and suddenly something happens and everything is over. Cut, right? Cut. So we can never relax and say, okay, everything is fine now. So when it happens to any one of us, we should not be surprised. Especially if we are devotees. Say, oh Krishna, why am your devotee? What are you doing? Right? Life is like this. We read recently, okay, yeah, sixth canto. Right? We are reading the sixth canto. Prabhupada is speaking about what is this material world. He said this material world is like a hurricane. Meaning that material world is hurricane, meaning you don't know when it comes and when it goes, and you don't know when the next one is coming. It changes, fast, fast, fast. Right? Brahmatmanah Shivaya Hanya Dhanani Shatravaha Avira Shriyam Angagustyajan Yuvai Satoshrashtum Aho Sahasubhi. He was a great emperor that he was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Perfect. There's nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and he could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies, and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. So materially, everything was satisfactory. Therefore, there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this. Right. So what catastrophe happened? Right? A man who has everything. What catastrophe happened? That suddenly he gave up everything, and including his life. He had to die. He had to die. Right? So say he was fortunate because he got the warning. He was sent a message. In 7 days, you are going to die. Right? That warning is on everybody's head, actually. Especially if we have crossed our 60s, right? We should know that the message of Yamaraj is already there. And therefore, we should spend quality time studying this Bhagavatam, reading this Bhagavatam. We should not let anybody steal away our precious time. Right? We should be intelligent. Now, women are not very intelligent. Do you agree? Women are not very intelligent, or are you angry when I say this? Right? Allow so many thieves to steal their time.
Mataji, so Prabhupada has written that women are not intelligent, and we agree with that. But then I see, that spirituality, because maybe they are innocent, they come more to the temple. They get philosophically, maybe they are not so strong, but in their service, they're always there, and they're more in number. In the temple also, they are more in number. So then why is it like?
Why? I just said, right? I just said. Just said it. They allow others to steal their time. Deviate them from their focus. Any calamity happens, then immediately, they will just drop everything. So therefore, like Dhruva Maharaj mother, right? When calamity came upon her, what did she do? She focused more on bhakti, right? Focus more on bhakti. She didn't waste her time criticizing, this one. She just focused. So Bhagavatam is giving us description of intelligent women. That's why we are studying them. Also description of who's unintelligent, but they become intelligent, they're protected by intelligent husbands. So who are the lucky women who have intelligent husbands, even if they are not very intelligent? And if there is no protector of a husband, then you become intelligent by studying Bhagavatam. Intelligent women are there in Bhagavatam. Like I just gave you the example of this lady, Here is a country that's been conquered, captured, right? And they want to change your dress, right? So, us women, right? So intelligent. She just wrapped that sari over the Victorian cloth. What sacrifice, what austerity it is. And that was in Calcutta. In Calcutta. You know how hot it is in Calcutta? Himalaya is right in Shimla somewhere. In the horrific climate of Calcutta. So this is an intelligent woman, right? So she bypassed who? The rulers of Calcutta, the British rulers. They didn't allow her because her husband was among them. So there are intelligent women also. But we're speaking of the general. We read somewhere, Prabhupada spoke about. He spoke. Look, everything is perfectly said in Bhagavatam. Ordinary citizens, right? Where was that? Prabhupada said, somewhere. He doesn't waste his time, with ordinary citizens. His purpose.
Yeah, in that year it was said, I think sixth verse. He was recognized. Seventh verse.
Oh, yeah. He didn't satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. Okay? He didn't satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. So all of you, you're taking so much trouble to study Bhagavatam. You're not ordinary women, right? How to become more and more intelligent because this one Mataji from UK, from the Bhaktivedanta Mana, Prabhupada disciple. So I was there and, so they asked me to give some class. It was Bhakti Shastri, it was Bhagavad Gita. So I did a class. So then she called me. He told me, please explain this chapter to me. Chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita in certain verses. I told her, this is Dhyan Yoga. You have already perfected your life. She's a proper disciple who has spent, I don't know how many decades in book distribution. And she is in the kitchen cooking these amazing Mangal sweets for Radha Gokulananda. It's amazing sweet. And she wakes up 2:30 in the morning. She's doing all her japa. I'm hearing her, japa doing her chanting. And she's approaching me, who's a nobody. Because I happen to give one class, there. She's telling me, explain to her this chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. She said, I'm reading, I can't understand it. I said, you no need for you to understand. You're already devotional service in practice, right? You perfect. No need. She told me one thing, which I never forgot, all right? Because I'm like a child, you could say, like a student. She told me that intelligence has to be sharpened at every moment, because we don't know at the time of death, the mind and intelligence may just slip off. She was 90 years old or something like that. So here is one Polish, I think she's a Polish lady. Here she is, the most revered proper disciple in that temple, studying like a child. Is Bhagavad Gita. The next thing that happened, do you know what happened? You know what happened next thing? I saw her in Mayapur. What is she doing? She joined Bhakti Shastri course. She got the devotees to bring her to Mayapur. And she was sitting like an ordinary student in Bhakti Shastri course. Probably some time back. Everybody used to say, Radha Gokulananda is waiting in the spiritual sky for her to cook for him. It was Sandesh, Barfi, Mangal sweet that she was making. So, it's not easy. You can see we are in the only beginning of this Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada is writing this Bhagavatam when he was in Vanaprastha ashram in Radha Damodar, when he had 0 disciples, when he had 0 temples, he had nothing. He was going begging for, give me money to print this Bhagavatam, right? He was going to favorable people, begging. Let me print this Bhagavatam. And just see what instruction Prabhupada is giving. And he took those books in India, people were not interested. He took these books, he went to America. Americans can understand what Prabhupada has written here. I'm just asking a simple question. Do you think any American can understand what Prabhupada is writing in these purports? Is it possible? Is it possible? How is it that Srila Prabhupada planted the seed and make it sprout in the foreign land with people who do not understand what the heck is he talking about here?
Mataji, when we read also, we have to know so much background. Ganges, Parikshit Maharaj, like so many things you have to assume then only you can read a purport and make sense out of it.
And these are the books that Srila Prabhupada, he sold them to maintain himself in New York. Right? So meaning that something was destined, planned, right? Something was planned to happen. I just heard one lecture Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada's clients, you could say, customers were the hippies.
Yes, Mataji, I was reading Lilamrit and people were buying his books. They were coming, the hippies also were buying. He was selling in one bookshop. That lady was very fond of him. So they were going.
This Prabhupada is saying, who are those hippies? Anyway, I hope everybody's reading Prabhupada Lilamrita. Or you have read or you're reading Prabhupada Lilamrita. So Prabhupada, just here, Prabhupada's lecture is such a, like an endless box, right? You keep on, something popping up. So he's saying, who are the hippies? Prabhupada is saying, they are the consequence of the world war. You have thought of this? Say they are the consequence of world war. Why? Because all the seniors died. The ancestors died. All the men died. Everywhere they died. So no more morality. No more knowing what to do. So the Americans became hippies. So if all of you, your grandmothers, right? You have a huge responsibility. You have a super huge responsibility in giving this knowledge to the next generation. How to behave. It's not just a question of behavior. It is the main problem was that they don't know who they are and what is the purpose of life. So that hippie movement came suddenly and then it vanished also. But Prabhupada got the opportunity to give them something that they became devotees because they were intelligent people. They were the hippies, they were not like low class people, they were middle class people, even higher middle class people. So, if we don't teach the children, right, wherever we may be, if we don't teach the children, in 10 years they'll be lost. In 20 years they'll become hippies, or their children will become hippies. Minutes beyond.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Maharaj.
Mataji. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. I'm trying to stop this, but it's not letting me do it. I want to stop it. Stop this Facebook, but it's not letting me do